Hello and welcome. My name is Carmen. You are on my channel here, Cardamom Pins. And today's video is going to be all about Sampler September. So if you're a cross stitcher and have a vague interest in knitting, hopefully you enjoyed this video. So welcome everyone, grab your stitching or whatever you're crafting on, and let's talk about the month that is coming up, September, which is often called Sampler September in cross stitch world. And the idea is that you stitch a sampler in the month of September. If you are a returning viewer, you will probably know that in my world, every month is Sampler September. I almost exclusively stitch samplers. Actually, I'm trying to push myself to broaden my horizons a little bit, but samplers are still kind of my favorite. Anyways, so something very exciting was asked of me a few months ago. Caroline of Evertote reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to host the stitch along for Sampler September that they always put out a release every year in collaboration with Ellen, Maximum Cross Stitch, and Carrie from Roxy Floss, and she asked if I would sort of lead the stitch along this year, and that was a very easy yes for me. So I'm here to talk to you about my plans for the next month. So let's start with the really fun part, which is the sampler that they have released for this month. And when they sent it to me, they even sent me the project bag, which was very, very unnecessary, but also very, very appreciated because it's just very, very pretty. So thank you for sending this. The deal was that I would lead the stitch along and then I get to keep the sampler at the end. So I didn't actually, full disclosure, I didn't actually buy this. So anyways, it feels like a very, very generous gift, and I'm very happy to, in exchange, lead this stitch along. So, oops, this is the project bag. And without further ado, you may have already seen this because it's been out for a couple months now. But anyways, in case you haven't, this is the sampler that was released this year. What's her name? Jane Wood, 1853. A reproduction sampler, and there's a mattress pincushion as well that you can stitch if you don't feel like doing the massive the massive sampler. But yeah, Maximum Cross Stitch. They have done this collaboration with Ellen now 3 years in a row, and this is the first time. Oh wait, no, that's not true actually. Last year they had two samplers. One was a reproduction and one was an original design. The first year was only an original design, and this year it's only a reproduction, but it is a behemoth of a reproduction. And I will put on screen throughout the video pictures that Evertote has, because they're probably much nicer than seeing this through my iPhone camera screen. And a few more pictures of the pin cushion at the back here, maybe you can see that, as well as Ellen's cat in the corner, as usual. So this is a big boy. What is the stitch count? It's massive. Let me see. It is 302 stitches wide and 306 stitches tall. So about 300 by 300 stitches, no joke. And it's got almost all of my favorite colors in it. So it was pretty much exactly the kind of thing that I like to stitch. And it has a mansion, not a house, a mansion with sheeps in the front yard. So now I'm gonna show you all of the fun, fabrics and floss. So the fabric, I'm almost certain is speculace. If it's not, I'll be putting that on screen, but I'm almost certain it's speculace. And for 40 count linen, I need a half yard. So I was sent a massive piece of linen. Speculace is my most favorite Roxy Floss linen color, and 40 count is my most favorite count, so it's kind of perfect. So I have this blanket of a half yard of fabric here. Then the floss. Okay, so I actually spent some time with this floss and organized it and tried to make it into like a pretty rainbow, and I don't know how well I succeeded. But anyways, these are the colors, and oh my goodness, it's really these pinks and blues and greens that make my mouth water. They just look so delicious. And oh, it's gonna be so pretty. I mean, look at that. I will also have pictures on screen of the professional photos that were taken. Anyway, so this is what I plan on starting on September 1st, which is in 2 days. I think it'll be only 1 day by the time this video comes up. It takes me a minute to edit these things. But yeah, that's my big plan for September, but I actually have a second project that I want to work on in September. But first, I would like to talk about my plan for divvying this up. Normally, when I stitch something, I will do the entire border and then I'll eat my vegetables and do more boring stuff like text or grass, things like that, and then I'll save the fun flowery motifs for the very end. However, since I'm leading a stitch along, I decided to do things a little bit differently. So I'll put on screen my schematic of what my idea is, and I have decided to cut this sampler up into, I can't remember if it's 8 or 9 months, and I'm gonna do one quadrant basically each month for the next 8 or 9 months. I can't remember how many there are in the end. I think there were 9. And I feel like that will make it more interesting for me, and it'll just be fun to do something a little bit different. And I also think that if other people want to join me, then that might be a bit more people's style. It's still a lot of stitching every month. I'm not sure what the final number of stitches is. I don't know if that's listed in here, but yeah, I'm gonna start in this bottom corner here because I want to get started on the grass, because I feel like if I leave that to the end, it won't be very fun. So I get to do some of the border, which is so pretty on this. I know borders can be kind of a nuisance for some stitchers, and depending on the pattern, it can be a little bit tedious, but this is such a pretty border and I love borders. Anyway, so I'm gonna get to do a little bit of border, I think every month, or most months in any case, and then I'll get a good chunk of the grass done and a little bit of the house. So I'll have a lot of that solid stitching done right away. I forgot to mention this, but if you want to stitch this in the same way, just take a screenshot of the screen here, or I can also email it to you if you contact me by email, or if you reach out to me through Instagram, I can send it to you there as well. One other thing that I wanted to mention about this is that there is a fairly long over one verse. It says, "Weep not, dear friends, but be content, for I to you was only lent. Lift up your eyes, your tears refrain. I hope to meet you all again. Jane Wood, aged 14, years 1853. So yeah. But there's also a shorter version that is charted over 2 that Ellen has provided. At the back it says, "Weep not, dear friend, we shall meet again. Jane Wood, 1853. So if you're not a fan of over 1, or if you are stitching this on Ada or something like that, there's an option for you. And also, if this is too much stitching for you and you want to just, get a taste of it and not have to spend the next 60 years of your life stitching this, okay, I'm exaggerating, but if you don't want to, commit to a massive project, there is this little pincushion. And when Caroline had originally asked me to do this, she said she would be stitching the pincushion. I don't know if that's still the plan, but anyways, you will have at least one buddy stitching the pincushion with you. So that is my plan. I am going to I've been knitting a lot lately. I'm gonna put my first stitches into this on, is it Monday? Yeah, the month starts on a Monday. So bright and early Monday morning, I am going to put this piece of linen in a frame and get started on Sampler September. So the other part of Sampler September that nobody has asked me to do, but I've decided to take upon myself, is that I want to do a little bit of a giveaway kind of thing. So in the past, Evertote has also collaborated with Timber Yarns to release a self-striping sock yarn that matches the color scheme of the sampler that Ellen releases. So you can also knit a pair of socks in the month of September. However, this year it wasn't possible. I think the dyer behind Timber Yarns is becoming a grandmother, so she didn't have time this year. And I know some people were quite disappointed about that. Another thing to mention is that I am a very avid sock knitter. I've knit something like 40 pairs of socks in the last year and a half. About 30 of those were for myself, which is more socks than any girl needs, really. But I have accumulated a lot of single skeins of sock yarn, and I love making socks, and I love this little community that we've built here together. So I thought that I would run a little giveaway, and then whoever wins the giveaway, I will knit you a pair of socks. We'll see if it's an idea that works. Maybe this is the only time that I do this, but I thought it might be kind of a fun thing for me to be able to give a pair of socks away to people, because I feel like most of the people who watch my videos are stitchers. Not all are knitters, but I feel like most stitchers have some kind of an appreciation for knitting, and most people enjoy wearing soft, squishy hand knit socks. So I think it could work out. So I went through my stash and I picked out this skein because it was kind of the closest to matching the color scheme of this pattern. It's not a perfect match, but I did the best with what I have in my stash. Anyway, so this is a really beautiful skein of lichen and lace sock yarn in the color Bouquet. This is a yarn dyer based out of New Brunswick, I believe. And yeah, New Brunswick, Sackville, New Brunswick. And I've been holding on to it. I've knit with this yarn before. It's really nice and soft and squishy. So I would ask if you would like me to knit you a pair of socks, or somebody else in your life, you can always regift them. But anyways, if you would like to participate in my little giveaway, I would just ask you to write a comment with what you plan on crafting on in the month of September, whether it's a sampler, whether it's this sampler or another one, or maybe you're not stitching at all and you're just doing something else. Just tell me what you're stitching on and I will do a random comment generator. And then whoever wins, at the beginning of my next floss tube, I will announce whoever won, and then I'll ask that person to send me an email, and I will need some measurements of your foot. So you have to be comfortable giving me some stats on your foot. I don't need any pictures. I'm not a weirdo, but I'll need like your shoe size and your instep, and I'll explain all of that in the email. And another little detail, so I am aware that most of my viewers are in the United States, and there's a lot of talk on tariffs and mail and stuff like that, and I don't think this is something that would cause you to have to pay a tariff, because there's no transaction of money. So I'm pretty sure that it would just be like a parcel in the mail that I'm sending you as a gift, which is what it is. So I don't think you need to worry about tariffs, but just be cognizant of the fact that I am in Canada. However, Canada is mailing things to the United States. I know a lot of countries have halted mail to the US, but here we are still able to send you guys mail. So anyways, I don't know who's gonna win, so it might not even be an American, but I just felt like I should probably mention that. I don't think tariffs would apply for a gift of a pair of socks. I think you're in the clear here. Also, on the subject of tariffs, Evertote, who has released this design with Ellen, put out a video with their whole situation with tariffs, and I'll link that video below. I'm not a spokesperson for them, so I would just watch that video, but it sounds like you won't have to pay any tariffs. So if you would like to buy this and you haven't gotten it yet, you can do that. You don't have to start on September 1st. You can start whenever you want. I mean, I'm not going to be finishing this for close to a year anyways, so you'll have plenty of time to catch up. Where can you share this? Well, I mean, the usual places, like on Instagram, you're welcome to tag me. I guess we could call it the hashtag JaneWoodSal. Hashtags are a little iffy on Instagram these days, but anyways, you can try. You can also email me. My email is in the description. And I know a lot of people are on Facebook. I'm not really on Facebook. I thought of maybe starting a Facebook page, but then I just don't really use Facebook. But I didn't actually check with Caroline for this, but I feel like it's probably fine if you wanted to share your project of this or any project, to share it to her Facebook page. I'm sure it's fine. She encourages everyone to share all of their stitching there, so I'm sure it's okay. Yeah, that's Off the Grid's Off the Grid Needle Arts. I'll also have that link in the description, so I feel like that would be a good place to share on Facebook if that's more your jam. Anyways, so my plans for Sampler September are, as I mentioned, to stitch that corner of this, but I also have one other big goal for the month of September, also a sampler, and I want to show that to you. And I also want to talk about it online because then it's, you know, set in stone. I've put it on the internet. I've said that I'm going to do it, which means I have to. So I have been slowly tinking away at a model stitch for Leanne of 1897 Schoolhouse Samplers. And I have, oops, oh my goodness. My frame just completely fell apart. It's fine. I have Ruth Collier here. I've shown this before. I have finished the border. I did her name on the bottom, and I really want to get this to Leanne. So it's a pretty big project, but I think that with the 9th of Jane Wood out of the way, I can focus on this for the rest of the month. And you guys need to hold me accountable, okay? I want to finish this. Leanne's been waiting for a few months. She's not being pushy or anything, but I do want to get this to her. And also, it's a really, really beautiful piece. I am allowed to share it online. She said it was okay. So I will be sharing my progress. And lastly, I would just encourage you to follow me on Instagram if you aren't already, if you're on Instagram, because I'm much more active there than on YouTube, and I will be sharing to my stories every day in the month of September, working on these two fabulous samplers. So I know it's a bit of a short one today, but I am getting geared up for a lot of stitching. I will admit that I have been doing a lot of traveling, and with that a lot of knitting this summer because I don't travel well with stitching. This sweater is something I knit this summer, and it was cool earlier and it was fun to put the sweater on for the first time, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm sweating right now. It's not quite cold enough. Not quite cold enough, not yet. Anyways, yes, so for the giveaway, I mentioned that in my next floss tube, I will announce the winner. The next video that's coming up is not going to be that video. It's going to be a vlog of my trip that I made to the Netherlands and to Denmark last month. It's a little bit overdue now, but yeah, so that's going to be a vlog, more knitting style video. But the floss tube, which I think will be the video after that, is when I will announce the winner. So please tell me what you've been working on, what you're excited to work on in the next month. And I look forward to sharing all of my progress of these fabulous, fabulous samplers with you shortly. So happy fall! Bye!